Greetings, friends and foes. Chris here. Tonight, I'm going to be discussing the doctrine of irresistible grace, what it means to me, and what it means to hyper-Calvinists. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read some scriptures to get started. First of all, I'd like to comment on somebody who kind of attacked me in the comments, saying that I was being pretentious and phony for using the real names of the apostles and of Yahuwah and Yeshua. Those are their real names, and we should be using them. And the reason I interchange them is so people who haven't heard those names before will know what I'm talking about, because some people are not aware of these names. So if I mention a name, I will mention both of them. I'd like to totally get away from that, but for you to say that they mean the same in English as they do in Hebrew, and we speak English, so you should speak the same, it means the same thing. That's as ridiculous as saying if Pierre moved from France to America, we would change his name to Willie. You know, it's that ridiculous. And of all names, they choose Hail Zeus. You see, all the names in the scriptures, or not all of them, but many of these names of these prophets edify Yahuwah. They all have Yahuwah in them, like Mattiyahu or Ishayahu or Jeremy Yahu. They're always. There was a big attack on the word of Yahuwah to get these names totally eradicated from the Bible. I mean, they eradicated Yahuwah's name 7,000 times from the scriptures. The Council of Nicaea did this in about 325 AD. So to attack me on that's a shallow thing to do, and it seems like you're mad about something else, and you're attacking me about using these precious Yahuwah-given names. Just to put it in perspective, I'll do a video on it sometime. I need to get to irresistible grace here, but I just had to respond to that. If you were married to your wife and or your husband, you're married to a spouse, and you're calling them their ex's name, you'd call them, oh, they'll get used to it. It's okay. That's the equivalent of what we're doing here when we call Yeshua HaMashiach Zeus Krishna. And you can say, oh, no, it just means a transliteration. It's just a transliteration. That's just a fancy word for saying baloney. What it is it's a configuration of pagan deities, Zeus and Krishna. And the Council of Nicaea decided to pull this over on people. They pulled one over on them. They got us using the wrong name of our deity, and they got us confused about his holy days with a bogus calendar and bogus Sabbaths. And we've had one pulled over on us. And I hope the scales come off of our eyes real soon. I'm going to get to irresistible grace now. I'm sorry for ranting on that. I may do a video on that and the importance of that. In fact, I think I'm going to leave a link to a video if you have any questions about what I'm saying about a very intelligent, well-studied man who did a very thorough research and presentation of that very topic. But anyway, I'm not going to apologize for using sacred names or cower in fear or run off with my tail between my legs. And I can't believe what they've resorted to try to shame me rather than just addressing the doctrine, the situation we're discussing here. I'm going to read their proof texts for their irresistible grace theory. And I'm not saying that grace doesn't abound, because grace certainly does abound. I'm going to go ahead and read John 6:37, or Yahukanan. You hear that? Yahu is in that word, Yahukanan 6:37. All that the Father hath given me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. That's Yahushua speaking. That is very persuasive that the grace is irresistible and that they're coming by grace. John 6:44, Yahukanan 6:44. See that Yahu is in there. There's a reason for that, and there's a reason they expunged that from the scriptures, and there's a reason they didn't expunge Satan's name. Satan got to keep his name. All the prophets and our Father in heaven and Yeshua, our Messiah, they got their names changed, but Satan didn't. Nothing suspicious about that. Come on, it's just in English. It's just in America. We're in America, and you should speak American. His name's Jesus. Just shows how uneducated you are, sir, for attacking me on that. Yehukanan 6:44. No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Another very compelling scripture that Yahuwah draws us. Yahushua promised to draw all men unto himself. But does this truth, and this is truth, does this truth negate the other truth that people squander their salvation and that people are foolish and deny the gift that's given to them, even though it's presented to them? I'm going to make that. We know that last time I did a piece, I mentioned this scripture, Yehukanan 12:32, and I, if be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. That's Yahushua speaking. I want you to consider this. I saw an ad recently, an ad for a AI lover, an AI robot that you could marry. An AI robot that you can pull at a string, metaphorically. You can program her to say, I love you, and say encouraging words. It's not just a toy. It's more than that. It encourages, it affirms you. It'll sit down at your dinner table with you and keep you company. And they've got such a thing on the market. And investors, this is why I was watching it, because investors are seeing a big future for this, for people to have a bombshell walking around their house, washing the dishes, sitting down and giving them affirmations and giving them other favors. And what do you think about that? Would you be comfortable with a situation like that, or would you want somebody who loved you without being programmed to say, I love you? Because that's what they are accusing Yahuwah of doing, that he has just programmed AI bots to say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And no, love is a mutual thing. You can't force someone to love you. Not even Yahuwah would force someone to love you. How many relationships go real well where the spouse or the person in the relationship is being forced to love the other? That's not how it works. That's not true love. That's intimidation and fear intimidation. I just have to read from James 4:8. Yaakov 4:8. Again, invoking the name of the Creator. They just couldn't stand at the Council of Nicaea, the 150 pagans who sat there and changed all the names of the Bible. They just couldn't stand having Yahuwah's name in there. So they took it out 7,000 times. Back to the point. Sorry for chasing that rabbit. Somebody rattled my cage on that one. Anyway, in Yaakov 4:8, it says, draw nigh unto Elohim, and he will draw nigh unto you. What does it ask us to do? Does it say, Yahuwah is going to make you draw nigh unto him? That's not what it says. It says, you draw nigh unto Elohim, and he will draw nigh unto you. Cleanse your hands, sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. This is a marriage. This is a marriage. Yehoshua is the bridegroom, and we are the bride. Do you think he wants a bride that was just AI botted into loving him or programmed to love him? That's not. He gave us a free will so that he would have true love, that he would have true worship, not somebody who's programmed to do it. I think that's a pretty ridiculous notion that he would program people to love him. He doesn't need to do that. He can give us a free will, and he did. And we can reject his love. We can accept his love and then forsake it. Or we can accept his love and endure in his love and continue in his love. And the scriptures are replete with it. I don't even have time to go over the dozens and dozens of issues. A marriage doesn't work when one is forced to love the other. And we are in a marriage. This is we are the bride of Christ, the bride of Yehoshua HaMashiach. I want to invoke those pagan words, and it's habitual. And it's not like I know all this. A lot of those names, that I'm using, those original names, I've only learned in the last 6 months. I've been using Yehoshua and Yahweh or Yahuwah for 20 years, but then I discovered that all the names were changed because they contained exaltations of Yahuwah. And now I want to start trying to use them. In the Ivrium, Hebrews 10:38 to 10:39, it says, now the just shall live by faith. But if any man draws back, okay, you've got a man living by faith, the just living by faith. But if any man draws back, my soul will have no pleasure in him. Well, what's that mean? That means that somebody's had faith in him and drawing back, and his soul will have no pleasure in him. Verse 39, but we are not of them that draw back unto perdition, but them that believe to the saving of the soul. That's going to come in handy on my Perseverance of the Saints video. But we are not those that draw back to perdition, but them that believe to the saving of the soul. What's that saying here? It's saying that some believe and then they draw back to perdition. So was the grace irresistible? No, they experienced the grace and they walked away from it. There's a verse that says, nobody snatch you from my hand. It doesn't say you can't walk out of a relationship. And it doesn't say that an unfaithful bride can't destroy a relationship, because they certainly can. I'm not saying you're saved one day and then you sin the next and then you're not saved anymore. That's not it at all. It's not that simple. They try to make it sound like, well, that's what those nuts believe. No, it's when you forsake the Yahuwah, the Yehoshua who saved you, and turn your heart back to him and turn your heart to another Elohim. That is what that means. If it was a sin, nobody would make it. I mean, nobody could stand. Our sins are covered by the blood of Yehoshua, and we can lose our relationship with him when we turn his back and start serving other Elohim. And the scriptures are replete with it. Tanakh, Brit Hadashah, through and through. Mattiyahu, or Matthew. Mattiyahu, there's Yahoo again in there. You see how these names exalt our Creator? Mattiyahu 24, 12 and 13 says this, and because of the transgression of the Torah shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. What do you have to do again to be saved? But he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Seems to me like you have to endure to the end to be saved. So is the grace irresistible? No. The grace is resisted by many. The grace is there for everybody. And it is rejected by many, and some accept it and then lose it. I want to go into hear this parable of the sower. I would like you to hear the parable of the sower. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell in stony places, where they had not much earth, but forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of the earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. He who hath ears, let him hear. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it obviously means, and we're going to get into Yeshua's explanation of these scriptures here. We're going to get into his explanation here in a second. What does it mean? It obviously means that some do believe for a while. It took grace for them to believe or endure for a while. It took grace for that. But guess what? They resisted that grace and they walked away from that grace. So much for irresistible grace there, John Calvin. So much for that. I'm not arguing with you. It just happens to be that Yeshua HaMashiach is refuting you. Okay, I'm going to go on down deeper into the parable of the sower. Yeshua says, when one heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. What did he do? He catch away that was sown in his heart. What was sown in his heart? Was that there by grace or was that there by voodoo magic? How'd that get there? No, what was sown in his heart was by grace. And the wicked one snatched it away. I'll read it again. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which is sown in his heart. This is he which receiveth the seed by the wayside. See, so many people with these born again experiences, and then if they've got this Calvin doctrine of eternal security, and I've seen them in my life, drugging and getting high and womanizing and saying, oh, I was born again in Sunday school. I'm good. I was born again when I was 10 years old. And they're no more born again than there's lost as a golf ball in a cattle pond. They're not born again. But they think they were, and the pastor, whoever led them to the Lord, said, oh, you're good forever. You'll never lose it. You're all good. That's how destructive the doctrine is. And in his last sentence of this verse, this is he that receiveth the seed by the wayside. Oh, excuse me. The wicked one catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. You see, they had that born again experience. They cried at the foot of the cross. They realized their hopelessness. They realized their sinful nature, and they wanted deliverance from it. And they sought salvation. And then some squander it just immediately like that, like within a day or two. It's all gone. All those warm, fuzzy feelings are gone. Their buddies are getting them high again and all that, and it's all gone. But they think they're good. No, pastor told me I'm good forever now. Right on. No, you're not good forever. Oh, he was never saved to begin with. Where's that in the Bible that he was never saved to begin with? Yeshua's teaching to the contrary, that they did have it sown in their heart. Next verse. But he that receiveth the seed in stony places, the same as he that heareth the word, and anon receive it with joy receive it. Okay, there's no grace going on there. He hears the word and with joy he receives it. No grace going on. That's just SpongeBob magic. That's not grace going on. Of course that's grace going on. He's pricked their hearts. He's penetrated their hearts. Their hearts have been penetrated. Yet he hath no root in himself, but endureth for a while. What does he do? He endureth for a while. By grace he endureth for a while. But through bad decisions, we'll see what happens. The grace was there. Wasn't irresistible to this seed. Yet he had not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. And we've never seen that happen, have we? Where people have born-again experiences, walk with the Lord, and then they want to fit into the club. They want to fit in. They want to get the girl or whatever, or get the new sports car, get the bigger house than their neighbor, and all that stuff people chase after. And then they really don't want to hear that anymore. They really don't have that as their as the Lord of their life. I don't like to use that word either. They don't have that as the Adonai of their life anymore. They don't have that anymore. They had it once. They endured for a while, but other things got in the way. Materialism and worldliness got in the way, and then it became offensive, and they let it go. Grace was there. They squandered it. He's also he that receiveth the seed among the thorns. Is he that heareth the word, and the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. Okay, so the grace was there. These people that Yeshua is talking about received it. They received the word. They received the kingdom in their heart, and they lost it. So it wasn't irresistible. They preferred the things the devil had to offer after they had already been granted this grace. So it's not irresistible. Well, what about that guy who was born again, lived for Christ, then wind up turning into a filthy mouth comedian or a rock star and leaving it all behind? The devil offered them something to dump their salvation, and they dumped it. Oh, he's never saved to begin with. Where's that in the Bible? That's not what Yeshua is saying here. I know you wish it was, and I know John Calvin wishes it was, but it just wasn't. That's just not what he said. He said, he that receives the seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the cares in the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke and he becomes unfruitful. But he that receiveth the seed in the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that parable of the sower riddle, because Yahushua explained it in detail to his disciples. The grace is good, and the grace is huge. And the grace is for everybody. But you're not locked into a done deal when you receive the grace. It is resistible, and many people have resisted it. And Yeshua just gave us many examples, and I just gave you many scriptures. I just gave you about 1/10 of the scriptures there are supporting this thing. Grace is not irreversible. I know John was speaking to his peers in the beginning who were very works-based. They were very much into their keeping the feast and keeping the Sabbath and keeping the letter of the law. That was their hope. That was their hope for salvation. Those are the type of people John was talking to, so please understand that. It is true. It is totally by Yahuwah. He's the one who gives us any good thing that comes out of us is from Yahuwah. Of course, he's the one who gave those people who decided to become seeds in stony ground or seeds in thorns. He's the one who gave them the drive to even believe to begin with. And the devil snatched it away, or they became concerned with the cares of the world, or they just didn't endure. The grace is not irresistible. You better hang on to it, and you better make sure that you persevere, because that's on you. That is on you. They want you to make you believe that, no, God just makes AI bots and pulls their string and they say, oh, I love you and worship you. And then he pulls their string and they say, I love you and worship you. That's just not the case. Grace is not irreversible. You need to persist. You need to pursue. You need to put on the armor. You need to put on your helmet of salvation, your shield of faith, your sword of the word. You need to have those tools and you need to apply them. You need to use them. That's what you're commanded to do. You don't just get granted AI bot status. And I don't see that a lot of, and I'm not speaking to any one person here. If anybody thinks I'm directing it directly at them, no, I'm not. I've met over 100 Calvinists in my life, probably, at least. And I'm directing it towards anybody who will listen. You have to persist. There's something you have to do. It's not irresistible. It's not irresistible. We're human. We're human. We're hearts are desperately wicked, and we're sinful people. And even when you become a believer, you can still succumb to the manipulations of the world and manipulations of the flesh and manipulation of demons. You can succumb to that. Don't think you can't. Your grace isn't irreversible. You need to stay in the, your grace isn't irresistible. You need to stay in the, word, and you need to stay in the faith. You need to make the conscious effort to do that. You're not going to get granted AI bot status if that's what you're thinking. You're not.